والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. To recite it day and night and make it an argument for us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new segment of In the Light of the Qur'an. Inshallah, on this show we will keep taking more lights from the Qur'an with the hopes of benefiting from those lights, and hopefully we will be able to implement it in our daily lives, because the main wisdom behind the Qur'an is for us to be a guidance for us, so we can benefit from it, we can implement it. And this is how the Prophet ﷺ was. When Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, was asked about the conduct or the character of the Prophet ﷺ, she said his conduct or his character was the Qur'an. So he was a real manifestation of the teachings of the Qur'an. This is how we should be today, that we implement the Qur'an. It shouldn't be something that we keep at our homes in a good place or in a high place, or we just show it, we use it as a decoration. It should be in our hearts. And we shouldn't suffice ourselves by only reading it. No, we have to read it, we have to understand it, and then we have to implement it. This is what Allah said in the Qur'an, لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِ. So the people will contemplate the verses of the Qur'an, will understand them and benefit from them. So this is why the Qur'an is there with us. Allah gave it to us as a guidance. If it doesn't fulfill its purpose, then we have fallen short. And we will be responsible for this, for these shortcomings and for this deficiency. So hopefully we will be able to take those lights seriously and benefit from them. And every letter that Allah put in the Qur'an is there for a benefit that will definitely help us get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today's surah is a short one. It is Surah Takathur, rivalry, when people compete with one another over the pleasures of this world, over wealth, over money, over silver and gold, over a job, over a position, over education, anything related to this world. Whereas rivalry should be connected to the matters of the akhirah, matters of that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, matters of hasanat. This is what our hearts should be attached to. So we will start as usual with the recitation. Then after that, inshaAllah, we will try to get the lessons that we can from this beautiful surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. Welcome back to your show In the Light of the Qur'an. This strong surah should strike our hearts and help us wake up on the reality of this life. Allah is saying, you have been kept busy. You have become preoccupied with rivalry, competition. You are competing with one another in matters of this world. Allah didn't say you are competing with one another over wealth. He didn't say you're competing with one another over position. He didn't say, for example, He didn't specify what type of rivalry, but He made it general. So everything that is related to this world, over which people compete, and they have this kind of competition and rivalry, then it is included in this verse. So you have become heedless. This is what Allah is saying. You have become heedless because you are kept busy with rivalry over matters of this world. Now, what are the things that people compete over? We compete over wealth. We compete over property. We compete over position or social status. We compete over that. And many people sacrifice or they waste their lives in chase of something similar. Whereas actually our lives are more precious than that. And these things are given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without the need to just make them the main focus during your life. So Allah is saying you have become preoccupied by this rivalry over everything, even education. People become, they compete with one another to get more education, a higher degree, and it becomes the main focus of their lives. No, these things should be on the margin. They come along the way. You don't have to worry about that. Yes, you do some effort and you take it into consideration, but to make it the center of your life, it will take you away from the main purpose behind your creation. And this is the greatest loss. And this is the worst situation that you can get into. And unfortunately, most people become really preoccupied by Takathur, by this rivalry, by this competition over this world. So this is why Allah is saying you have become preoccupied, you've become busy, you've become heedless of the reality of this life because you are busy with those things until you visit the graves. Until you visit the graves as dead people. You forgot all about death. You forgot all about the reality of this world. So you don't even consider death. You don't even consider, you totally forget that this life is going to come to an end. You forget. You behave and you compete with one another as if you are going to live forever. So you forget that one day death will come. And what will happen after death? You forget all about that. So you are kept busy and heedless and preoccupied until the moment of death comes. Then you will be taken to the grave. And that's a sad thing. If a person is kept preoccupied with this world, with competition and rivalry over matters of this world, and he forgets about the reality of this life. So when death comes, it comes as a surprise, when one is not ready for it. So don't let this world, Allah is saying, don't let this world keep you busy from the reality of your existence, from the mission that you are created for. Remember death. Make the hereafter the center of your life. Make the worship of Allah the center of your life. And then you can still get involved in this rivalry according to a reasonable level. Because in order to live, in order to make your livelihood, you still need to pursue your needs. There's no harm with that. But to make this rivalry, to make the pleasures of this world the center of your life, this is the disaster. And if you do that, you'll be surprised when death comes to you. And you will not be ready. And that's the worst scenario that could happen to you. So Allah is saying you are kept busy until the moment of death comes when you will visit the graves. And Allah doesn't say until you go to the graves, but Allah says until you visit the graves, because you will not stay in the graves. The grave is not the end, as many people think. Many people commit suicide because they are in trouble. They live in some kind of stress. So they want to get rid of this stress, and they think they can end it by dying. But actually, death is not the end. Death is only one stage. Death is only one stage of your life. You're going to it, then you will depart to another world. So Allah is saying, حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ, until you have visited the graves. Allah didn't say until you went to the graves, but you visited, because you are only a visitor. And you're going to stay for a short time, then you will move on to a new stage of life. So you have to be aware of that. Don't miss the point. Death is not the end. Death is only the beginning of a new stage. And soon it will end, will come to an end. And then you will embark on a new life, which is in the hereafter. And that's the real life, as Allah says in the Qur'an. So don't let rivalry over the pleasures of this world keep you busy about the moment of death. Some scholars say until you visit the graves, it means until you go in the janazah of someone. You go and put someone in the grave. So you start to remember the reality of your life and you forget about the world. You're busy with the world, but when you go to the graveyard to bury someone and you see the graves, you remember yourself when you will be put in that pit in the ground. When you will be put in that hole there by yourself, you remember, oh, there's something other than the pleasures of this world. This life will come to an end. Yes, we keep ourselves busy with it, but one day it will come to an end. So these are two interpretations of this verse. Then Allah says, كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ كَلَّا. It's a word to drag your attention. This word actually holds you from your... It holds your garment, it holds you really tightly. And it says to you, wake up. كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. You shall come to know. You shall come to know the reality of this life. Then Allah says, ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Then again, you shall come to know the reality. Now the most correct interpretation of those two verses is that you will come to know when you visit the graves, the reality of this life. ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Then in the hereafter, when you are resurrected, you shall come to know the true reality of this life. So one level of knowledge is when you die, and the higher level of knowledge is when you are resurrected on the Day of Judgment. You will have more certainty about the reality of this life, but it's already too late. So wake up from now. Wake up from now. Then Allah says, لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ. With all certainty you shall see the hellfire with your own eyes. You shall see it. And then a higher level of certainty and awareness will be on your mind. You will get that higher level. But as I said, it will be too late. Then Allah says again, ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنِ الْيَقِينِ. Then again, after that, after you see the fire, when you first are resurrected, then you shall see it with full certainty. Why? Because you will be stopped in front of it, and then you will have to cross the bridge over it. So you will see it with full certainty, about which there is no doubt. ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. The essence of certainty is in that kind of knowledge. When you will see it, when you will stand before it, and you will have to cross the bridge over it. Either you make it to the other side, or you will fall in it. That's the full, and that's the essence, that's the core of all certainty, absolute certainty at that moment. Then you will remember your competition and your rivalry in this world. So Allah is giving you the whole scenario, right from the beginning to the end, so with the hope that you will wake up. From now, you already don't know what's going to happen, so before you reach that, you can live it, imagine it now. Imagine it. And then ask yourself, what am I supposed to do to save myself? So as if you lived those moments now, come back in the journey to this world and get yourself out of this rivalry so that you save yourself. Then Allah says on the Day of Judgment, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنْ النَّعِيمِ. And on that day you shall be asked about every single moment, every single second, every single second of happiness or joy, or every pleasure you have enjoyed in this life. Every enjoyment you had in this world, you will be asked and questioned about it. Were you thankful to that? And how did you utilize it? The surah is profound and powerful, and is meant to help us wake up before we go and visit the graves and we depart this world forever. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us really benefit from this light and benefit from this strong reminder. And inshallah, when we meet another time, we will take another light and we will try to benefit from it. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah guided us by the Qur'an.